Surprise!
Oh my goodness.
How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Good.
COVID-free, and you?
I'm good. So I just popped this on live and we're ready to roll. And we're rolling actually and streaming across the internet. Boy, it's good to see you again. How are you doing?
Things are good. Things are busy, but things are good.
Good. Well, I saw you playing around the other day, trying all sorts of different experimentations with video. And I thought, oh, well, I'm doing this, so I'll just show you how StreamYard works. So
I appreciate it. And I like your suggestion. I was just trying to figure out a way to do it without spending money.
They do have a free version, but you can only go out to one stream. Another way to do it is there's something called OBS, which is I think you download it for a Mac, and from there, you're doing a lot of jerry rigging to try to push it out. But yeah, there's not a lot of free out there, but there is a lot of convenient.
Yes. Well, I was basically just monkeying around. I've got you can't see it because of the cameras this way, but below me, I've got my microphone. I got my speakers down there. I've got another tripod that I was going to hook up another iPhone, if you will, with Instagram and go live. So basically, I would be shooting the screen that I'm looking at you on live on Instagram. It actually didn't look too bad.
No.
And I've got stereo. I've got a mixer and the mic and everything plugged in. So I just plug all that stuff into using this little. Hang on. Oh, hang on. Here it is. Can you see it? Little iRig Majabi.
Yep.
Yeah. Hang on. Get that. There we go. I got the iRig and I got that little thing plugs into the iPhone. Anyway, just toying around.
You see, it really does come down to budgeting. So I bought StreamYard, and you, on the other hand, have those toys and a really nice set. I have a wine fridge and a folding chair in back of me.
Well, my really nice set is just a green screen. But anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I figured out while I was waiting for you, I thought there's got to be a way that they have green screen on this. And then sure enough, there is. So I've got this.
I should probably look into that. I'm paying for the feature. I should probably get myself some sort of background.
Last time I checked, I think you can pick up a green screen, ordered online for like under $100.
Wow. That's good.
It looks cool. You can create your own image or whatever, and there you go. And this is one of many. We have a thing on our website where if you want to do these Zoom chats and you're a fan of Boom, you can download a few different green screens if you like.
I love the Boom on Zoom.
Thank you.
So tell me, we go back about 9 weeks now, and pandemic sits in, and have you've been commuting every day and going into work nonetheless, have you?
Yep.
So you have to send some staff home. And one of the things I really like about Stingray and what you've done is you've supplied everybody with those Rodecaster Pros, which was originally supposed to be for podcasters. But I know a lot of the Stingray staff have these great devices at home. So how's the at-home experience been working out?
It was good. We have it there as a backup, at least for our team in Toronto. There are other stations in Stingray. I don't know which ones, but they're using them as well. Stu's wife got sick or came down with something. She hasn't officially been tested yet. All the symptoms were there for it. So he called me up on a Sunday and said, here's the deal. I don't want to come in. My wife isn't feeling too well. We're like, oh, okay. So automatically I got on the horn and I talked to our engineers, and he had already been set up previously with all of this stuff for fear that something might happen and where he might need to broadcast from home. So he got the cream of the crop. He's surrounded in monitors and professional mics, and he was the only guy that had the ability to actually answer phone calls that came in for Boom to they were rerouted to his home. He could operate our wide orbit system from his center, if you will. So he did that for about 6 weeks, and he's the only one so far that needs it. All the other jocks have the option if they want to broadcast home and they don't feel cozy about it. But they're all pretty much old school, and they love the comfort of coming in and still doing his show. And we're okay with that. We clean they before they start the show, they clean the area. When they're done their show, they clean the area for the next jock. and we keep our physical distancing and everything else. So, and we only have, given the jocks that are on the air, we have about 4 or 5 people in the office each Monday to Friday. Normally there's about 34.
Wow. That's so some changes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in that sense. So I think a lot of people are, well, this is great to be working from home, but at the same time, there's a tremendous loss that I think a lot of people aren't talking about, and that's the camaraderie and the family. And when you bring people together, there's an incredible creativity that goes on. It's one of the things that I've noticed that, having worked from home for a while, is I really miss getting together with 3 and 4 people, which is why, like I ran into a podcast movement. I'm very excited because that's where all the ideas come together when you bring a lot of people together. So how have you managed to balance, not having all those people around with team meetings? Do you guys get together on Zoom yourself? How do you do how do you do the jock meetings?
Jock meetings don't happen very often. I don't know if I'm ashamed to say that or whatever. I keep in touch with the jocks all the time. So if I'm not texting them or calling them on a daily basis just to see how they're doing and where their head's at and stuff like that. But we do have programming meetings with promotions and production and management and so on and so forth. And they're all done on Zoom, just in this same area here. I've set up our Behind the Vinyl studio is now a Zoom studio because nobody's coming in to record any episodes Behind the Vinyl. So I took it as an opportunity to kind of set this up, and I had a little mixer, and anyway, it works great. But yeah, the camaraderie in the hallways, that's a big miss. It's always nice to, walk around, make the rounds, pick everybody's brains, see how they're doing, have a few laughs and stuff like that. We still do it, but on a very smaller scale.
What's your commute like every day compared to what it is? Because when you and I did a podcast together, we did it with you driving all the way back. I believe you live up in Barrie.
Yep.
And so what's that commute been like every day over the last 9 weeks? How did it change, and how much faster are you getting to work?
Mm-hmm. When the announcement came down, it was pretty interesting. We're on the 20th floor, and my window looks down on Yonge Street, and wow, like it was surreal, man. Like the next day, it was barren, maybe 1 or 2 cars at 7:30 in the morning when there's normally just a stream of them. So that was a real shocker. And then getting to and fro from work, it takes me, I usually leave my house in Barrie at about 5 a.m. and I get into work before this pre-COVID. It would take about an hour 15, an hour 20. Now it's an hour both ways. So, and getting home, I would usually leave around 3:30. That would usually be about 90 minutes. So that's about an hour. So it shaves off a lot of time, that's for sure. However, in the past couple of weeks, it's been getting busier.
Have you had a chance to look at any data that's sort of come back over the last 9 weeks? I mean, what we're hearing from the stuff that's come out in the US, and it really does vary from station to station and format to format, that morning shows seem to be lower, midday's a little higher, but listening longer, and then the afternoon drive is down. And it does depend on the format and the station, obviously. But what are you seeing in all of this?
I am pretty happy with where Boom is in the shares department. We get hello, Sharon Taylor. I didn't know that's a new thing. Love her. Where the hell was I now? I'm all thrown off. Ratings and measurement. So yeah, because we're in Toronto, we get PPM meters and we get dailies. So we see the results every day. Average minute audience has gone down. The cumes have gone down considerably for all the radio stations because everything's been thrown off. The morning commute, where you'd normally listen to your morning radio, there's fewer listeners. But from what we understand and what we're seeing is smart speakers, your Hey Alexa, those things are up. The listening patterns for that are up. But our shares, we're still holding strong, and we've done very well through this so far. Again, knock on wood. It seems to me that comfort music, comfort food, if you will. I even wrote an ID, Boom 97.3, comfort food for the ears type of thing. People, at least what I think, find comfort in the music, in the familiarity, in the stuff that they know, that they grew up with. And it just kind of, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Brings them back to base a little bit more. So it's been a good experience, I guess, shares wise with the ppm meters for us. And our morning numbers are great right now. Knock on wood again. Anyway, I don't want to say anything because the book's not officially out, and we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, this sort of thing soothes the soul. So I go back to, I was in Edmonton when 9/11 happened, and the book that came out right after was very strong for classic rock and very strong for country. We're seeing a lot of that again. And there's some ratings that are going to be coming out, I think, tomorrow for the diary. Do you have a sense of what the diary is going to look like? Or, yeah, I know we're all making a face, right?
The diary, I don't really dive too much into the diary as much as I guess I should. I don't, because we're ppm, we're not diary.
Yeah, you don't need to take from that bin.
Yes. I mentor a station in Sudbury, Rewind. I hope it does very well. It's been doing pretty good for the past couple of years. And I just had a chat with the PD there, Alex Heinmarch, earlier today. I said, I get these vibes, I get these feelings, and something's telling me that you're going to kick ass. And he's like, really? And I'm like, how do you know? And I don't know. My inner voice told me. So I don't know. It's, I'm always a glass half full kind of guy. So I like to think that he'll do well, being that it is a classic hits radio station. It's not a big market, but so I get, and I don't even really they're rolling back and getting, because of the ppm, because of the COVID, they're rolling back and including information from previous books to try and balance it out. I don't really kind of grasp it, so I don't think I'd be a good voice on that.
No, I think we're all going to learn tomorrow what it really means, and we'll probably spend a few weeks. I'm kind of excited to do it. I probably, if I was program director of a radio station, be not as excited to have to break all that down. But I'm at the same time, good luck to everybody tomorrow. Whatever the recipe was that, went into the whole thing, is that you come up with a number. But and speaking of which, we've one of the things that I've struggled with radio over the last number of years is the measurement system. So, diary, we're writing stuff down, we accept it, and ppm, it has its flaws, but at the same time it works. So, but now I feel that the pandemic has sort of accelerated us 5 years. And now you've got all these smart speaker numbers, and now you've got this engagement online, and now you're reaching out a little bit through video, and there's maybe some video streaming. So do you have a plan, by the way, Troy, and I want this on my desk by 5 o'clock today, do you have a plan to aggregate all that data into one selling number?
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah. I've always thought that, yes, ppm has its flaws. You never know. You could be the biggest fan of a certain radio station and have a meter with you, and you go get your muffler changed. Next thing you know, you're a big fan of another radio station for the day, which is not the truth. But I get it. It's basically whoever saturates the market the most wins, pretty much. But as far as smart speakers and online streaming, that'd be nice if we could find the information with, say, Alexa speakers, and get who says, hey, Alexa, let's listen to Boom 97.3 or whatever the station is. And then they take that information, ppm does, and incorporates that into it as well. That'd be kind of interesting. But I don't think too many companies want to release their streaming data too much.
Yeah, it's great to have for yourself, because then you can aggregate it yourself and treat it yourself. And when you make it public, it becomes a little bit uncomfortable. You have to expose yourself a little bit. Mm-hmm. So from the video side of things, what are you learning? Because you've always been this sort of innovative guy who wants to try stuff. And even though you got a bit of a throwback to you with, vinyl and old radios, you're a big fan of that, but you're also somebody about the future. So what do you see in video that you can teach the rest of us?
Well, I just kind of throw shit in the wall and see what sticks. But I like to, as I mentioned before in one of our conversations, I always challenge myself to try and something new, something that may not have been done before. And this has been done before a million times, but I don't know what that is, and I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure there's lots of new ideas. I'm sure there's millions of ways to repurpose other ideas. I like this Zoom thing now that I've dabbled in it twice, really, with doing it online. We did one Boom on Zoom with Alan Frew, Frew and Stu. I got this weird little rhyming thing. And then we did Gowan the next week. And I've got lined up, hopefully all of these things come through with a few more big artists. But then it'll be, are you ready? Boom on Zoom at noon in June.
Who's your imaging voice who's going to have to bang that out?
Yeah, Joe Cipriano. Good
Okay.
man. Yeah, I don't know. I can see these things being a thing that they're taking off if they're done well. I think it's important to have a goal, or I guess a theme, if you will. I love have you ever seen the YouTube channel Hot Ones, where the guy interviews artists, but they eat chicken wings as they do it? Love it. Brilliant. I'm like, that's how you do it. That's how you take these, because I hate the boring interviews where people are just sitting there and they're just talking about whatever. Okay, tell us about the movie. All right, they've done it a million times. But if you incorporate something that's kind of different and cool and interactive and shows a side of humanity with the artists, like, I guess the big catalyst for me was with the interviews is, when you watch the Tonight Show, they get them to do a karaoke thing or something fun and interactive. And to me, that was a big idea. It's like, okay, we get requests for artists coming in all the time. And rather than just put them on the air, what else can we do? Like the on-air thing is one thing, but, while they're here, they want to sell their albums. And we're putting them on the air, so we're kind of doing them a favor. So maybe they can do us a favor and take part and do this behind the vinyl or the first time video, or, and then establish such a great relationship with them that we can call upon them and say, hey, remember when you did this for us? Would you be interested in doing a Boom on Zoom, for example? And 90% of the time, they're very receptive. They're like, yeah, sure. It was fun when we were there. You guys were great. And we'd love to do it. So it's finding a matter of time and being respectful to the artists when they're in and having fun with them. I'm always looking for that next big thing. I don't know exactly what it is. Boom on Zoom is fun. It's Stu Jeffries, who is a interviewer, a brilliant musicologist. He's got a great reputation with all of these 80s artists because he was there when their careers were launching. And they know who he is, which is great because of that and because of his morning show on Boom. So you already got two great elements there. And then the fact that they can play something live and impromptu in their home while wearing a T-shirt and slippers or something like that. I think that's a little different because the stuff that you're seeing now is all very nice and extremely well done. I just watched one with Roger Waters doing Mother last week. That was brilliant. But it's all produced and it sounds great and it looks great, but it's not a real representation of them in their home environment to a degree. You know what I mean? You don't have dogs barking in the middle of a Roger Waters Mother performance on YouTube.
The NFL draft was good that way. We got to look into everyone's homes. And I think the first two draft picks, I'm like, I hope you take your first check and go buy your family some curtains.
Yes, everybody's being judged on their home decor now, which is hilarious.
And Alan Frew, here's somebody who has, he's been dining out on Zoom for the last number of weeks because I saw he was serenading a fan, connecting with his audience that he couldn't come and see. I think there was a fan in Edmonton who, this show was supposed to happen and she was supposed to, have a meet and greet and go backstage. But here he is jumping on Instagram to connect with fans. So, it's the people who want to, jump in and do this as opposed to those who are still trying to do it the pre-pandemic way.
Yeah. I was a little reluctant with the idea on doing a Zoom. I just didn't know what to do. I wanted to have a theme or a concept. I just didn't want two talking heads, but we just decided to try it. It worked. Like with Alan, I called him a guinea pig. He found humor in that. He said, normally people would refer to me as a premier guest, but guinea pig works. But anyway, he's a very easygoing guy, good nature, good humor. So it just rolled out. And as we were doing it, with the first episode, we made a few notes, a little post powwow, I guess, if you will, just to try and see what worked, what didn't work, what can we do better, like we do with all things. And by the time Gowan hit, it sounded a little bit better. There's a few other things that we decided to do, and as opposed, like right now, it's you and I both on the screen. But when Gowan started performing, like we don't need Stu just sitting there going, let's just cut to one camera and have him. So just little tiny things like that. There's a few other things that we want to try as we move forward. The sound, I think, is pretty good. We've got a professional Neumann mic here. Is it Newman? I always forget that.
Neumann.
Thank you. See, everybody goes, oh, you should know your mics. I'm like, that's what we have engineers for.
That's a pricey purchase, by the way.
Well, we've got all over the studios, but yeah, they're nice mics. But it's a behind the vinyl mic. So I just basically took the set. It's the same set here. It's just instead of black curtains, we've got a green screen, and the rug's still here. This is one of the chairs. And anyway.
Yeah. I'm kind of excited for the future because I think at some point we're going to figure out how to incorporate all these great things that we learned into making radio a better product. And I know we're probably looking at numbers and going, this is down or this is off. And, these are the different rules of engagement, going forward. And listen, no system has been perfect. No system has ever been perfect. And I'll show Sharon's comment here, and it's true. Listen, any form of data that you get is going to have some form of flaw in it. It's not going to be perfect, whether you're writing stuff down and paying people $5 or, is it what you heard or what you listened to? And Troy, your ratings went down because one of your listeners decided to go to the dentist.
Or whatever. It's very finicky. It's not, or maybe they're listening to the station in the truck and then they pick up their kids from school pre-COVID days. And the kid goes, I want to listen to this. And they switch the station. Next thing you know, this 45-year-old mom is a big fan of hip hop or top 40 or whatever the case may be. So yeah, it's not 100%, but it's the best we got right now.
Are there other forms of technology? We talked a little bit about the speakers. We talked a little bit about the video. And is there anything else out there that you're seeing that, oh, wow, that's kind of jumped up a little bit and I'm surprised?
Nothing that comes to mind right now. However, and you'll be excited about this, Behind the Vinyl podcast will be coming out soon.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
Because you and I went to Philadelphia. How many moons ago was that?
Philadelphia, we went in 2018.
Okay.
And the only time we were really apart was when you went to go to the Rocky statue and get your picture taken with Rocky. And I went for a Philly cheese.
Yes.
I think I went to a place called Joe's.
Yeah.
And I had like multiple Philly cheese sandwiches. The pounds just didn't come off.
I had to go see the Rocky statue because my wife is a massive Sly Stallone fan, has seen all of the movies numerous times over. So I had to do that for her. Plus, it was a nice walk. It's beautiful, beautiful place. Anyway, we were talking about Behind the Vinyl podcast then, and then it finally came in. And over the past, I guess, month, I've been working on putting episodes together. We're doing 3 episodes in one episode. Stu is the host of it. So it's basically him. We got the intro, and then Stu talking about what's to come. We play the episodes that you would find on YouTube and then sandwich them together with a few nuggets here and there. And that's it. It's simple, but it's great to be able to have this content that we've had for so long to be able to repurpose it into another direction. The same thing goes with interviews that we do when we have artists in. We got to save all that stuff. We got to go through the archives and think, how else can we repurpose this stuff? If it is a podcast, if it is, I don't know, maybe a YouTube video in some form or fashion, whatever. But it's such a shame that when artists come in and they're on the air and you record the interview and then that's it. Like, there's some great stuff there that people could use. If it's in a special or if it's in a countdown or we've got a big thing planned coming up on Canada Day that I'm very excited about. Find out more, I guess, in the weeks to come. It's I can tell you it's a countdown show, and Stu Jeffries is one of the hosts, and there are 2 other hosts that are Canadian music icons. And it's going to be on a pile of Stingray stations on Canada Day. So that's another opportunity where we can take what these other two hosts are talking about and repurpose it possibly for later, because we'll have their audio. So we'll be able to use that going into certain songs on the radio, or maybe repurpose them over the intro of one of their songs or a different artist's song, or whatever the case. I think we really owe it to ourselves to have an archive and properly labeled, and it's got all in there, so you can just go into a computer and go, oh yeah, that's right, he talks about this, let's get that, put it over the song of an intro or whatever, and it just sounds that much better.
Well, I've got 200 plus episodes of a podcast interviewing radio people, and I have all the raw audio, and it's sort of bursting at the seams that I actually have to get this sort of extra hard drive that I have in front of me to, to store it. I've rarely gone back to go get anything, but I can't bring myself to deleting it.
Mm-hmm.
And, go back to, throughout the 90s. I can't tell you how many artists I interviewed, and it all went on to reel tape and then put in a box and went into a closet, and none of that exists anymore. And I interviewed Mick Jagger. I interviewed Alice in Chains. I interviewed Nirvana. And none of it exists anymore. So yeah, hold on to that audio.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Especially, and I hate saying it, when one of them might suddenly pass, and you've got, oh yeah, I remember I interviewed him back in yada yada, and he said this, and oh, wouldn't that be fantastic to have? And if you have it archived somewhere digitally or whatever the case may be, it's nice to be able to throw that out there. Something that was only heard once years ago, never to be heard again. It's invaluable.
I love Sharon Taylor. She chimes in with some of the greatest information. This is completely backhanded. I don't recommend you necessarily take this advice.
I love Sharon Taylor. She gave me a job when I first started getting into radio. I took a job in Medicine Hat doing junior swing, and then she offered me a gig at Kissin' Country in Toronto. I was like 19. And I was like, damn, but it's the same money. So I can go to Toronto and be an overnight jock, or I can stay in Medicine Hat and do a whole bunch of shit. And I figured, well, if they offer me Toronto now, hopefully I can only just get better and they'll offer it again later. Anyway, it worked out, but I love Sharon. She's such an awesome person and so funny.
Yeah, well, clearly she's going to be on this thing whenever we get this together. And, for me, this is this is sort of like my pandemic thing. I said, I got to do something new. Yeah. And not going to Canadian Music Week. Doesn't look like going to the Conclave in Minneapolis, and podcast movement's been pushed to October. I got to do something this summer. So I thought I'd be doing this and just bringing people back who've been on the podcast before, and not necessarily, could be someone else, but just to talk about, hey, how you coping? What are you doing? And how are things? So I saw you doing it. I thought I got to do this too.
No, it's well, I'm honored. Thank you. I love your podcast, by the way. I think it's amazing. It's great. Obviously, I love the word ensconced. Is that a proper use of it here? I use words, but I don't really know what they mean 100% of the time. Anyway, because I'm in the industry, I'm such a geek for it, and I love hearing other people's stories and seeing what's going on in the world. So thank you for that.
Well, it's been interesting because I kind of wonder, like there's a pre-pandemic and then a post-pandemic to everything. And, I watch TV and I go, The Real Housewives, is that ever going to be relevant again, where people are sitting around throwing stuff at each other at the table? Is that relevant? So same with the podcast are people going to want to listen to some of the stories about radio before the pandemic, or do we need to get in? I said, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I think every episode has a pandemic part to it because it's just so unavoidable. And actually, one of the other things I did want to talk to you about was, how much do you want to go to air, talking about that? And I think programming wise, you moved to just, no COVID talk at some point.
Yeah, that one, I think we're still in this stage, but it was about, a month and a half ago. It was just, it got to the point where, oh my God, because we were running COVID reports like a lot of people were as well. We started out doing them hourly when the shit hit the fan. And then we kind of pulled back, and then it was every other hour. And then we were like, people are still Like we ourselves were like, oh my God, if I hear any more COVID, it was in every stop set. And I get it. We need to, it's out there. Everybody wants to get the message. And I'm not poo-pooing any of the advertisers by any means. They have to get their message out. But it got to the point where it was just like, it was like a Black Friday every day. You know what that's like? Black Friday sale on now, Black Friday. And it was COVID. So I'm like, well, what if we do a COVID-free Friday morning at least, like maybe a couple hours where we're free of it and there's no mention and we just focus on life and good times and good tunes, and which meant we had to pull all the advertising because all the advertising mentioned COVID. So it was basically nonstop music for 2 hours from 7 to 9, and that was fun. And even though because you're a radio station, you want to brand things, right? You want to make sure that people know what you're doing and why you're doing it. So we call it COVID-free Friday. And then so we did that. And then we're like, no, let's beep out COVID, but we still say it so people get it. And we thought, well, we're being cute. And then sure enough, you get 100 great compliments, and then you get 2 that just gnaw at you. It's built into our DNA where we can't focus on the 100. We have to focus on the 2. So then it was just like, all right, well, maybe we're saying COVID too much. So then we pulled back on the IDs that said COVID, even though they're beeped out. And then, so we did that slowly but surely. And then, you know what? Well, if we can do the morning, why don't we start the day and finish the day COVID free? And then we did Friday nights, 7 to midnight, which were COVID free as well, which was great. But, you still get a few people that are like, you're still saying COVID and they wouldn't hold back on the F-bombs and dumbass comments and stuff, but whatever. But that said, it seems that we have pulled back a little bit on the COVID. With not every commercial is mentioning it anymore. So actually, and I hate to say it, for now, our COVID-free Fridays are not happening. Yeah, you must have ads that aren't doing it anymore.
But you must be spending a lot of time. There must have been a period in there, like for a couple of weeks, where you're like, are we really the salvation from the pandemic, or are we part of delivering the information about the pandemic? And that must be just have gone through your mind and kept you up at night.
Well, we want to make sure that we're still doing our part in informing people because it's going on. It's happening right now. But I've tried to write a pile of new imaging that doesn't necessarily say COVID, but just talks about people are doing, like every day's a bad hair day, or just stuff like that. Or I just wrote some stuff for the summer about does our face mask match our bikini or something like that. It's basically taking observations of what's going on there, people in the rubber gloves and social distancing and physical distancing circles and so on and so forth. But how can we mention this stuff without mentioning COVID? We're all tired of hearing COVID, but we are very observant about what's going on in society. So where can we find the humor and the relatability in there?
Yeah, you got to move on when a program director like Sharon Taylor is telling us to wrap this up. But but hey, Troy, thanks a lot for taking the time just to screw around on the video with me. And we did this on StreamYard. We're out on Facebook and YouTube. I've got my budgetary thing here that only permits me to do 2. If I'd paid twice as much, I could probably go out to Twitter and maybe LinkedIn as well. But
Right.
Anyway, thanks a lot for doing this, and best of luck. I'm going to send you some email, by the way, on some imaging suggestions and keeping it light and humorous, because I found something on YouTube that I'm going to share with you.
I love it. Thank you. Bring it on. Stay well, man.
All right, and you, and it's in the email.